Hi everyone, welcome to today's session on yoga for depression. Hopefully by now you're starting to see how all of these practices integrate into each other in order to provide a balanced practice to help with healing. We will go over yoga for anxiety as well, but as you can imagine, the postures, the pranayama are very similar for the most part. However, when we are practicing yoga for depression, we want to engage in asana and pranayama that really starts to bring up the energy of our sympathetic nervous system. So nowadays, especially, there is a little more acceptance and acknowledgement of depression. Depression is real. It is something that many people deal with on a daily basis, and our practice in the United States is to deal with depression from a medical standpoint for the most part. I'd like to start by saying this: if you are taking medication for anxiety or depression, please bless that. Please give gratitude for that and honor that, because that might be what is actually bringing you to your yoga mat. Some of us, many of us, have suffered with situational depression and anxiety over our lifetime. I'm one of those individuals. I have taken medication before in my life. And who knows, I may end up taking it again at some point. At this point in my life, I use daily rituals, pranayama, meditation, and certainly asana to help with the for me it's anxiety. I was going to say anxious provoking, but anxiety provoking situations that I get myself into, and then those ultimately will burn me out from a nervous system mode, and then I go into that depressive state. So it does become sort of this cycle if we don't find these mechanisms or these ways to navigate through, whether it's situational, whether it's chemical. I mean, it can be all sorts of things. My recommendation is finding that blend of therapy, whether it's talk therapy, yoga therapy, yoga asana, yoga pranayama, all the practices that integrate together that can help with our energy body. We know after studying the subtle body yoga section that there are so many ways, in addition to asana, that we can tap into our energy. And also certainly getting medical assistance if we need that, or most definitely. But today I just want to talk about what this depression is not something brand new. The ancients would help their students with what they called the word malaise that we know of now. They had a term for that in Sanskrit, and the ancients dealt with that by putting their students through pranayama, gentle asana, also giving individuals their own mantra. So the gurus in the towns or in the sections of India would meet with their students, and they would give them a mantra to use. Certainly the practice of Ayurveda was involved, in addition to this idea of having a daily ritual and some sort of routine to fall back on, so that you have this ability to have a one-pointed focus. As you can see, as we talk, there'll be these layers. One-pointed focus leads to meditation. Meditation leads to clarity of the mind. Clarity of the mind leads to detachment from those things to which we are identifying. So depression, what the yogis say is that depression comes from our identification an attachment to those things, which ultimately will change. We know that the only constant is that everything is going to change. Suffering is inevitable. And if we know these things, then, and we practice the yoga, which is to de-identify and to detach from those things that cause us suffering, then we are able to navigate through these bouts or through these situations from an energetic standpoint. I'm going to show you an integrated practice today that I hope you will join. You will join in practicing with me. That's going to include pranayama, mantra, and certainly asana and some body awareness. These are the main practices in yoga in which we can deal with depression. So we know that we aren't our feelings, but we have a relationship to them. So if we think about this idea of Purusha and Prakriti, Purusha being that divine consciousness and Prakriti being everything else, our feelings are also the everything else. So if we think about when people ask us how we are and we respond, not great, I'm sad, I'm tired, I'm angry. I am angry puts a rubber stamp of anger on us. We are actually feeling angry. We're feeling something that is on the spectrum of fear, but we are not anger. But in our society, we use these terms that give definition to who we are. What happens when we do that is we create this unconscious patterning in our head. Think about the labeling exercise that we have had in our sutra journaling and also in your 200-hour training, where we have this practice of listing all of our labels and then asking ourselves, would I exist but for that label? Our existence is constant. The labels are just the Prakriti. Those things are ever changing. So if we can develop rituals, routines, habits where we can focus in on, our heart, the journaling, the meditation, the mudras, the prayers, whatever it is that you have determined speaks to your meat suit, your koshas, all of the energy bodies. If you can come up with that recipe that works for you, then you will learn how to de-identify with those things that are ever changing anyway. So just a quick recap. We have our sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, or freeze response, and we have our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. And I think if we really sit and be clear with ourselves about how we are responding when we are triggered, if we would just sit and be really, really clear. Are we taking a moment? Are we responding from that witness mind? We talked about, are we responding as a player in the play? Or can we respond as that person sitting in the audience, simply watching with curiosity, noticing, and perhaps saying, just like me, noticing the feelings that could potentially be culminating or brewing in the actors. If we are triggered by someone who snips at us or is sharp with us or expresses anger toward us, Can we take a deep breath, and rather than react, can we respond from a place that comes from that deep energetic level of knowing that we are not anger, that we are simply receiving anger, and then we massage it through our system and respond from a place of consciousness. The issue with many types of depression is that we have these conscious memories and unconscious patterning that's created by those conscious and unconscious plays in our system. So for example, I'll just give an example. I had a situation recently where I was having a conversation with my mother, and she brought up a time she found a love note from an old boyfriend, and she told me that she had found it in a cabinet in her home. She told me who the boy was, and I knew from conscious memory what type of relationship that I had with that young man. I could only imagine what the note said, and I probably don't need to say anything more. You're getting the gist of this, right? So her energy level with me felt judgmental, and I felt that sick feeling in my stomach of embarrassment and shame. This shame story started coming up. She proceeded to laugh about it, and that has really stuck with me, because while it might be laughable now, at the time it was when she first found the note, which was 30 years ago. There was a punishment, there was a lot of judgment. And to add that veil of laughter now, wow, brought up a lot of feelings, a lot of sadness, shame, embarrassment, and it's something that I've been dealing with of late. But again, that in the container of that interaction, there was this dynamic that brought up memories, that brought up that memory of that relationship and like where I was in my life. And then this patterning that was set up by being subjected to that shame story. Now, am I depressed about it? I don't think so. Am I certainly anxious about it? Yes. But just know that some types of depression includes a sympathetic response. So anxiety can be a response from feeling those fear-based emotions. Many medical professionals, even yoga scholars say that that depression and anxiety are really the same thing, because they come from that fear-based spectrum. It's just how they land, how the feelings land in the particular individual, and then how they're expressed. It's still energetically, whether it is hitting the parasympathetic or the sympathetic nervous system from a bringing it to a downward feeling or an upward feeling, it is still impacting the system, which is fight, flight, or freeze. Remember, the parasympathetic nervous system is that nervous system that allows us to just rest and digest and process. So the most common symptom of depression is sympathetic suppression. meaning that you get tired, you're lethargic, you have no interest in taking care of yourself, you're basically just flat, sad, grief, you lose your sense of partaking in pleasurable activities. That is the most common type of depression, but also know that there is depression that creates that sympathetic activity, which is anxiety. And we'll go over that in a different module or different video. It will be separate, but just know that it's very, very similar. The yoga is very similar, but when you're practicing asana for depression, you want to do all the poses, all the side bending, all the twisting, but the emphasis is on back bends. Yoga for anxiety, the emphasis is on forward folds, and we'll have a practice for both. Okay, so like I said, all postures are great. The pranayama practices that really activate that sympathetic response are those in which you take a deep breath in and you exhale. We call this samavritti. So an equal type of breath, whether it's 4-4, 6-6, but also holding after the inhalation. So a breath retention after the inhalation is very nice, and then releasing. Let's think about samavritti, equal breath pattern for pranayama practices, but also your fiery practices like Bhastrika. I love Bella's breath. Kapalabhati is also a suggested pranayama practice. For me, I tend to think Kapalabhati is a little bit too fiery, but only you can know that for your practice. Kapalabhati is certainly a recommended pranayama practice for depressive states, but it would be a little more on that really higher end of active asana, active pranayama. With all of this, you should start slowly. So if you're putting together a sequence for depression, you might sort of have this idea that you want to start like right out of the gate and into it quickly. In both yoga for anxiety and yoga for depression, you want to start very slowly and then move into the postures and practices that will provide that sense of balance that we're trying to attain in the nervous system. So, as I mentioned earlier, the ancients would prescribe this sort of cocktail with their students of mantra, even mudra, asana. There's also a type of meditation called Japa meditation, and Japa meditation is essentially where you have a mantra and you repeat it very quickly over and over and over and over. So it could be so hum, 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 so hum. I am that, 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 I am strong, I am strong, I am strong, I am peace, I am joy, I am love. Whatever it is, you say it quickly and you repeat it to create the vibrational sound and this imprint that just keeps landing in the body. That is Japa meditation. The other recommendation is right relationship. So right relationship is Sangha. So that's a Sangha just means a community. So having relationships that are meaningful, that are valuable, that uplift you, that is something you want to take a look at. For those of you who are familiar with the 12-step program, this is also part of this type of recovery. Having a community that is supportive, having a mentor that you can reach out to when you're feeling like you're falling back into bad patterns. So none of this is new, and many other types of recovery, healing modalities have adopted these types of practices in order to help with things like addiction, trauma recovery, grief, recovery from grief. And they use things like community, meditation, breath work, one-pointed focus. The Japa meditation is something that helps with one-pointed focus. It gives us something to hook into so that our mind doesn't attach to the story, doesn't go back into unconscious patterning or conscious memory, and actually allows us to detach from that. So building the will is something that Amy Weintraub, who actually she's written a book called Yoga for Depression. She is considered the authority on yoga for depression. And she speaks of building the will. So, as we mentioned earlier, when you're in a depressive state, or when your students are in a depressive state, there is very little interest in doing anything. There's very little interest in relationships. There's very little interest in friendships. There's actually very little interest in anything. So Amy Weintraub speaks of setting the intention, having an intention each and every day, and daily ritual. So daily ritual, you've heard about this already in Ayurveda. And as we know, Ayurveda is the science of life. The science of life has us do some type of daily routine based on bringing balance into our constitution or into our doshas. So again, you see how all of these things are interrelated and how we can use all of these practices for healing. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is take us into an integrated practice for depression, or just for when you're down. We will start in an easy seat. I'm actually going to use my block here because I like to be uplifted in this type of prep. We will start seated and then we will go onto our back. Lucy might bark here because there's something outside that she's not super happy about. So the mantra that we will be using is Om Jyotir, Jyotir, J-Y-O-T-I-R, Aham. Om Jyotir Aham, Om Jyotir Aham, and it means I am supreme consciousness. I am supreme consciousness. It can be divine consciousness, utmost. I am utmost consciousness. So notice I am consciousness. I am aware. We're not saying I am this, I am that. I am consciousness. Om Jyotir Aham. We'll begin with Samavriti. Samavriti, equal breath. And we tone the navel to the spine, a gentle Mula Bandha. and we direct the breath into our heart space. So rather than belly, chest, taking the breath directly into the heart space will bring more brilliance, more awareness into really bringing the energy up into that sympathetic response. Samavriti, inhale, exhale, find your pattern of breath. And we'll not do the retention of the inhalation at the top, just a nice equal inhale, equal exhale. And we'll begin with our mantra. And let's see if we can chant the mantra on the exhale. So inhaling. Om Jyotiraham. Inhale. Om Jyotiraham. Om Jyotiraham. Om Jyotiraham. Om Jyotiraham. Om Jyotiraham. Om Jyotiraham. Now, coming onto your back, into a Shavasana shape. Palms by your sides, palms facing up. Staying with that Samavriti equal breath, inhaling and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Again, noticing the inhalation into the chest, expanding across the chest. Into the shoulders, gentle tone of the navel to the spine. And then exhale. Finding equal breath. And exhale. Now bring your awareness into the earth on which you're resting. Feeling the connection points with your body. And then in your mind's eye, take your awareness out into the room in which you're resting. And then out of the room into the space outside of the room. Take your awareness to the furthest place that you can imagine. Consider the sun and the sky, the moon and the planets. taking the awareness into the entire expanse of the universe, big and bright and broad, expansive, massive. Notice the fullness of breath. Perhaps the inhalation and exhalation increase by a measure. Keep expanding into the chest, across the upper back, into the shoulders, the throat, and the face, as this awareness expands bigger and brighter and broader. Universal consciousness coming in and releasing out. Now start to draw your awareness back into the room in which you're resting. Close it into the earth on which your back and your feet, the backs of your hands and your head rest. And then just begin to notice the breath again into the chest, the gentle tone of the navel into the spine. And then some gentle movement as you inhale, starting to flex and drawing the left toes toward your hip. So the right foot remains relaxed, and then taking the right arm over the head, extending on the inhale, and then exhaling, sweeping the right hand down, palm faces the floor, relaxing the left foot. Inhale, flexing the right foot, and then bringing the left arm up overhead, reaching the arm, drawing the toes back, exhaling, relaxed right foot, relaxed left arm. Repeating, drawing the left toes up, flexing the foot, inhaling the right arm overhead, and then exhaling, relaxing the left foot, bringing the right arm back down. And then inhaling, taking the left arm up and pulling the right toes toward the belly. Big stretch, big reach. And then exhale, relaxing the right foot and the left arm. Pulling the feet in. Settling the feet under the knees into partial recline, prepping for a bridge pose. Inhaling, lifting the hips. Exhaling, releasing the hips down. Inhaling, lifting the hips up, again, toning navel to spine, expanding across the chest. And exhaling. Once again, inhaling, rising. And exhaling. Now adding the arms with the hip lift. Inhale, sweep the arms straight up and overhead. And if this is bothersome to your shoulders, just lift your arms straight over your head rather than taking them all the way back. So you can go to here, inhale, reach, exhale, release, or take the arms all the way up and over and back and exhale. Once again, inhaling, lifting the hips, feeling the expansion across the chest, and exhale. Let's do it one more time, maintaining the breath in and out of the nostrils, and exhale. Making your way into all fours. Take your time. And sometimes this pose is called Chakravakrasana. I know Chakravakrasana is something different, but as we've talked about in Yin Yoga, Amy Weintraub and some of the other teachers, yoga therapists that really specialize in yoga for depression, they have certain names, so you can identify the postures as being postures that you're practicing for this particular situation. So I'm just going to call this cat-cow child's because that's what it is. So we come into all fours, shoulders over the wrists, deep belly drawing in, and we'll just inhale, exhale, sink back, Come forward. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Once again, inhale, release the belly, lift the hips. Round it up, exhale, and then empty fully. Inhale. Exhale. Now, as you inhale, silently chant the sound of Om. As you exhale, audible Om. Om. Inhale, silent Om. Exhale. Om. Coming forward into Vajrasana or lightning bolt, sitting on the heels. Inhaling, arms overhead. Exhale, sit. Arms come back. Tip the forehead on the mat or on a block so the hands go around the sacrum. Inhale as you rise. Exhale, tip forward. Inhale as you rise. Exhale. Now, inhaling to yourself, Om. Exhaling, Om. To yourself, Om. Rise, Om. And one more. Om. Now, coming to the top of your mat into mountain pose. Tadasana. Inhaling, arms overhead, silent Om. Exhale, Om. Inhale. Exhale, Om. Inhaling, Om. Stepping the right foot back. Lining up the inner edges of the heels, coming into Virabhadrasana 1. Sweeping the arms overhead. Releasing the arms down. Inhale, come to step together high on the toes. Lift your heels. Exhale, step the right foot back, Warrior 1. Inhale, arms overhead. Find a gentle back bend. Exhale, arms come down. Inhale, right foot steps up, high on the toes. Keep the arms lifted. Exhale fully. Arms are lifted, step back, right foot. Inhale. As you exhale, Om, the arms drape over the head and over the heart. Om. Step up, inhale. Exhale fully. Arms stay reaching, right foot steps back. Exhale, hands drape across the head, down to seal the chest. Om. Step forward, high on toes, inhale. Exhale fully. Arms stay reaching, step back, right foot, inhale. Exhale, Om, and drape. Om. Inhale, step to mountain. Uddiyana Bandha, open the chest, exhale. Inhale, sweeping the arms overhead. Exhale, Om. Om. Stepping left foot back. Coming into Virabhadrasana 1. Right knee is over the ankle. Strong legs. Sweeping the arms up overhead, inhale. Exhale, little back bend. Step forward, inhale. Bring the hands down, step back, left foot, exhale. Inhale, sweep the arms. Exhale, find that little back bend. Inhale, come to stand high on toes. Exhale fully. Keep the arms extended, step back, inhale. Little back bend, now exhale, drape. Om. Inhale, rise. Exhale fully. Inhale, step back, gentle bend. Exhale. Om. Inhale, come to rise. Exhale fully. Step back, left foot, inhale, heart offers. Exhale, drape. Om. Inhale, step forward. Mountain pose. Exhale fully. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, Om. Om. Coming back down to all fours. Inhaling, hips and head. Exhale, pull it back. Inhale, chest up, hips up, drop the belly. Exhale, draw it under and back. This one, we exhale the sound of Om as we come back. Om. Coming up, finding Sukhasana again, easy seat. We will have bellows breath practice, Bhastrika Pranayama. Close the eyes. Reaching the arms overhead as you inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Four, three, two, one. Inhale, hold, and exhale. Hands to the knees. Taking Yana Mudra, index finger to thumb.